Good morning and welcome to One Church Keynsham service online. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for sticking with us. We had a few little faults this morning, which means we started a little bit later than expected. I was supposed to be joined by our lovely pastor, Chris Williams, again today, but you are stuck with just me. Please pray for me as I try to get through all of this programme by myself and get it all right. So, goodness, technology, hey? I'm sure most of you are experiencing this as you're either trying to do your work from home or you're trying to communicate with friends and family. So once again, thank you for sticking with us. I hope that means at least by now though that you've managed to get your cup of tea, that you've got some calm to chaos perhaps, and that you're ready for our service this morning. We want to welcome you if you are new. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining us. And of course, welcome all the One Church family as well if you have got on Facebook today and you're sat with us. It's really great to have you. I can see some of your comments popping up here, although I don't have glasses on, so I don't think I'm going to be able to read them all that well. But please continue to engage with each other in the comments. Have a chat. This is what community is about. This is what church is about. Say hello to each other. Maybe share some fun stories from your bank holiday weekend. Has anything gone really well and great, or has something gone really disastrously wrong? Any fun DIY stories as you've managed to navigate the bank holiday children, or any fun stories involving your kids if things are a bit of chaos right now. Let's maybe try to learn to laugh at the chaos, because what else can we do, hey? There's a few different ways that you can connect with us today. So like I said, you can hop into the comments, you can say hi to each other, connect that way. You can like and share this current feed on your Facebook page so that others can join in as well and can see and share in what we are doing. And you can also, if you haven't done so already, head over to our One Church Keynsham Facebook page and you can like that, and that just means that you'll stay up to date with everything that we're doing. You'll be able to join in again with Sundays, but also we're sharing daily isolation inspirations from all of our One Church family who are just sharing some really encouraging and comforting inspirations from the book of Psalms. So you can always go back and have a look through those videos as well. They are all on our page. If you've missed any of them, that would be great. Prayer requests. So we love to pray with you. We believe in the power of prayer, particularly at this time when you might be even more disconnected than normal and you're perhaps missing some of church community. We still want to pray with you. God is still moving. God is still powerful. God still listens to our prayers. That's what the Bible tells us. He is listening to our prayers. So you can go ahead and add those in the comments, and we'll have a look through, and the team and myself at the end of the service will pick up on some of those and pray for you. But you can also send private messages to us as well. If you don't want to share that in the comments and it's perhaps a little bit personal, go ahead and send us a direct message on our One Church Keynsham page. Someone will pick that up, read it, and be praying for you. And of course, you can do that throughout the week as well, not just here on a Sunday. So we've got quite a lot to get through. I've got a lot of things to try and remember. So like I said, please stick with me. If I get a little bit tongue twisted or miss anything, then yeah, please forgive me. So we've got the results from our goat video. If you joined us last Sunday, you would have heard that our church in Zimbabwe had 2 little baby goats, which were really adorable. And we set out a little competition for you guys to name a goat. So we're going to share those results with you today. We've also got our kids program. So kids, if you're listening today, get ready, get excited. There is special content just for you today. We've got our honour slot as well, so we're going to talk to one of our One Church family who is on the front line during this coronavirus and just hear a little bit from her. That's going to be really good. We're really excited for that. So 1 minute fire, this is a new thing that we're bringing to the Sunday service. We haven't done this before, but 1 minute fire, and it's going to be an inspiration from one of our amazing young people that's just going to share 1 minute of their heart, of their study with you. Also we want to know how to live big in lockdown. So as a church, one of our mottos is that we are growing you to live big. And so how do we do that in lockdown whilst everything has changed? We have our amazing senior pastor, Simon Jarvis, and he's just going to share another little weekly inspiration with you about how you might be able to live big in lockdown. Those have been really great. We had a great one from Simon's wife, Ali, last week. Really challenging, really interesting. So get your Bible and notepads ready for all of this. We're going to do a bit of communion and worship. So communion, if you want to partake and you haven't got anything ready now, whilst I'm just still rambling away, you can go and get something ready to take communion. So if you have some wine with you, or if you wanted to use an alternative, maybe juice so that your kids can join in, and some bread, then get that ready, because we're going to do that later together. We've then got the next instalment in our home series. So we've got Andy Watch coming to us this Sunday, sharing a word on our home series. That's going to be great. And it's going to be an awesome, powerful morning. That is a long list of things. Hopefully you remembered it all. It's going to be a really great morning, and hopefully you're going to be really glad that you got up, that you sticked with us even when the first live failed, and that you are here listening and ready to hear from God today. Breathe with me. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is announce the name of the goat. So we're going to have a little picture here that comes up. Oh, here's a baby goat. So we had loads of really great suggestions come in for the name of goat. But the name that we have decided to go with, I don't have a drum roll, and I'm not going to try and do a drum roll because it'll sound really bad. But here we go. The name of the goat that we have chosen is Vincent van Gogh. Yay! Applause. That's my lovely husband producer in the background giving an applause there. Vincent van Gogh. So yeah, that lovely goat in Zimbabwe, all the way over there. I believe that original suggestion came in from the lovely Mr. Ryan Hoare. So you now have a goat in Zimbabwe named Vincent van Gogh. Very creative, very good. I'm now going to hand over to Liz, I believe, who is going to share our OC Kids message for this morning. So kids, if you are ready, are you ready? If you want to be crazy and loud and run around the room or make loads of noise, let me know if you're ready. I think you're ready. We're going to hand over to Liz with our One Church Keynsham Kids service. Thanks, Liz.
Hi OC Kids, Liz here from Keynsham. Hope you're all well. Thank you to Danny for introducing our new series, The Armour of God. And we're going to look at the memory verse that Danny set us last week. How have you got on with trying to remember it? It was Ephesians chapter 6 verse 11. Let's have a read of it. Put on the full armour of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. Ooh. Quite a verse. It's actually a really exciting verse, and I get to take you through the first part of the armour that makes up the armour of God. Okay, so armour, you don't really see that these days. You don't see people walking down the street wearing a full suit of armour, but back when this was written, you would often see soldiers or warriors in full armour. So let's just take a look at what a soldier may have looked like a few hundred years after that. This guy, pretty cool. He's got his armour on. He's all set up, ready to go. And the piece of armour that I'm going to talk about to you today is the belt. And in the armour of God, it's the belt of truth. Okay, so this thing here. So why would a warrior need a belt on? Okay, so if you can imagine that warriors, they would wear lots of clothes, and sometimes they can be quite baggy, and so before they put on the rest of their armour, they would need to gather all these clothes around them. If you can imagine your dressing gown, when you put that on, you need your belt, and you need to tie it tight so that, you know, if you're going to have a race with your sibling, or your brother or your sister, that your dressing gown is not going to be flailing behind you, it's tight to you and you're ready to go. And it's the same for these soldiers, so it holds everything together. But what is the belt of truth, and why do we need it? So simply, the belt of truth is what God says, okay? What God says, and that's about you and about me. But why do we need that belt of truth? Okay, so sometimes we may hear things, or some things may be said to us, that don't quite line up with what we think God says. And that belt of truth is our simple way of testing that, of checking that, and detecting when things aren't quite right. Okay, so how do we use the belt of truth? So we do it by checking God's word, and that is the Bible. So the next time you feel a certain way, or somebody says something to you which you think, I don't think this quite lines up with God's truth, you can ask an adult or a parent or someone to help you find what God's word, the Bible, says about that particular thing or about you. And if that's the first thing we do, so it's the first piece of armour we put on, then we're ready to go. Okay, hope that helps, and try and remember this memory verse and see how you get on next week. Okay, bye.
Amazing stuff. Thank you, Liz. Hope you kids enjoyed that. We're now going to hand over to a new section, our 1 Minute Fire for our youth. So last week we honoured all of the youth leaders across One Church Network who have been working really well with our young people during this time whilst we're all sort of distanced from each other. And one thing they've been doing is a 1 Minute Fire. So this is one of our lovely youth, Sasha, and she is going to share a 1 minute inspiration with you today, which is really, really great. So why don't you just go ahead and encourage her in the comments before this happens, but as it happens, and pick out things that she shared that are really great, because this is really brave and really encouraging. So we're going to hand over to Sasha now.
This week I'm going to be talking about 1 Peter chapter 5 verse 7, which says, "Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you." And I think this is a really good Bible verse to hear during this time of quarantine, because there are a lot of people who are vulnerable and at risk, and there are a lot of people whose family members are vulnerable. And this means that there are a lot of people who are feeling very, very worried during this time. And this Bible verse is telling us that if we're worried about something, we need to give those worries to the Lord because he cares for us. And I think that is an amazing thing. And I think everyone should know that during this time, we have no need to be afraid because we have the Lord, which is just great.
Amazing stuff. Thank you so much, Sasha, for doing that. Really encouraging, really great. And once again, just thank you to our youth leaders. Mel and Andy Watch have been working with all of the youth and helping bring out some amazing stuff within them. So keep going. Really amazing stuff. So we've got a little bit of a slot now. Our Pastor Chris is going to speak with one of our lovely One Church family members, Emma, who is on the front line during this time. We have seen our country really transformed over the last couple of months, and we've been praying throughout some of our Sunday services for all of those that are on the front line, those who are carers, nurses, doctors, those who are still working within the community to support people in need. And this environment and this landscape has been really challenging for all of us to navigate, but particularly for those and their family members as well. And so we're continuing to pray with them, and we just want to honour them as well. Anyone who has joined today who is on the front line or has family members that are on the front line and so obviously have concern and worry for them, we want to thank you and we want to honour you. So now we're just going to hand over to Pastor Chris Williams, who's going to have a little bit of a chat with Emma about what life on the front line at the moment is like. So yeah, over to you, Chris and Emma. Thank you.
It'd be great for you to just share a little bit about what it is that you do for a job, and let everybody know kind of, what is it you've been up to during the lockdown?
Right, so I work part-time as a nurse in a dementia care home. So I've been doing that. I've been picking up some extra shifts with that as well. And then obviously, as a lot of people have been thrust into the role of teacher for our 3 children, so my 7, 6 and 4-year-olds. So that's probably been the biggest challenge, if I'm honest.
We've had the same thing. Just like I'm very fortunate that obviously Anna kind of works in education. But it's still tough, and it's made it a lot easier for me. And if Anna has to go back into work, I don't know what's going to happen in our house. It's just going to go off. Who knows? Kids aren't going to learn anything. I'm sure we'll have a lot of fun though. But yeah, so you said you're working as a nurse. You're working in a care home. Just be good to hear perhaps what some of the challenges. What's that been like?
I'm quite lucky because our manager's really supportive. Coming up to kind of a month, 6 weeks ago, when the infection rate was rising, for me it was more kind of a mental, emotional challenge, because when you're kind of aware something's coming, you really start thinking about it and kind of trying to prepare yourself, because we work with really vulnerable people, so vulnerable old people, so they're all in the sort of high risk group. So you kind of realize everyone or everything you come into contact with, when you go into work, you're exposing all of them to that. So you've got that kind of in the forefront of your mind as well. As a nurse, you're responsible for all the, the residents kind of under your care on your shift, but also members of staff. And so, you're aware that you need to be coming kind of strong and positive, and just be someone who's approachable, and not carry any stress or any worry into that. So I was just quite aware of that. So I was just praying for God to help me with that in the beginning, that when I'd go into work, that I'd be in a good, in the right place mentally, prepared to do my job really well and to look after people and kind of support the staff. Yeah.
And it's actually been quite fantastic just seeing how our nation is coming together to support each other in that as well, which I think's been fantastic. No small thing. You mentioned about also being a teacher to 3 children as well on top of all of that. So what's that been like?
I homeschooled my eldest for a short while, kind of before, so I had some idea. In that time I realised, I'm not a natural teacher. I was like, okay, I'm going to do this again for 3 of them. But I don't know, it was just kind of trying to find like a rhythm and a routine. Even between, Simon and myself, we've had some discussions. Finding like a way forward of working. So finding what works as a family, because he's still working full time. Obviously I'm working part time as a nurse, and then we've got the children at home. So it's finding a whole new way of kind of operating. It's kind of like a big ship, when you're trying to change direction, in that big ship, it just takes longer. To kind of turn it around to get it moving. So it's taken a long time to kind of find a rhythm that seems to be working,
Obviously, yourself and your family, your family full of faith and belief in God and the opportunities that He gives us, and so I'm sure in this season, as well as all the challenges, there's been great opportunity. So just be good to hear perhaps if there's been any maybe opportunities for you in this season, or any answers to prayer that you just think it'd be good to encourage some people with from that side of things as well.
So the one kind of main example that springs to mind, so one of my work colleagues who I've known for a long time, and I'm quite fond of, so we found out his wife got taken into hospital, and was in ICU for a long time. She was really unwell with COVID-19, so he was isolating, and then at one point he also got really sick. Now they've got 2 daughters, who are dependent on them, and then he found out he also had to go into hospital. Our manager was kind of keeping us updated, and I was, that for me, I was like quite upset by that, because when I found out about his wife, we're like, right, we're praying, I messaged him, we said we're praying for them, and then finding out he was going into hospital as well, I was like, okay. I had a little cry, and I was like, right, this is time to band together, to call on one another, to help. And so I think I messaged you and Anna, and I think I might have told Mel as well, please can you guys pray with us for this family. And I know their church was praying, because they are Christian as well. Their church was praying, and they had sort of family and friends all over the world praying. And then a couple of weeks ago, we got a message that his wife was out of ICU, and he was fine. And it was just amazing, prayer really does work. It was just so encouraging, and just because she was in there for a long time, and sometimes the longer someone's in there, you know, the less likely the chance of them recovering well can be. And so, yeah, it was just so encouraging and so amazing. Yeah.
Fantastic, yeah. And, you know, we're just hearing stories right across the nation of people being prayed for online through services like this and having answers to prayer and loads of things happening right across the nation. So it's just fantastic. It's good to hear those stories. It's good to share those stories to remind us as well of the goodness of God and the answers to prayer, and to give us hope as well that God is working in this season, working in us and through us, which is fantastic. So just to finish the video today, it'd be good to know as well, what can we continue praying for you in your role, in your job, and at home for you and your family?
Yeah, just kind of strength, I guess, to keep going, endurance. That at work, kind of the team will remain strong, kind of helping each other, working together. And just peace, I guess. Peace at my workplace, peace at home, you know, that we'll all be patient with each other and tolerant of each other. And I just want to say thank you as well, because I'm so thankful that we have a church family. Because in this, although we're all isolated, we're not alone in it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge thing, just knowing that there's that whole support.
Yeah.
Behind us is just, it really makes a big difference. Yeah.
Hey, we love you and we love your family. We love what you're doing. We want to celebrate you today. Thank you for all that you're doing on the front lines and with your family. And we will pray for you. We'll pray for your team. We'll pray for your family. Keep going, and we look forward to meeting up again. And as soon as lockdown's over, seeing each other face to face would be great. And we'll see you soon. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you.
Amazing stuff. Thank you both, Chris and Emma, and thank you, Emma, once again for everything that you are doing. We're going to take a moment now just to pray for Emma and for the beautiful Cowling family, but also for all of those other frontline workers who often potentially go unnoticed and underpaid and overworked, and you know, their day-to-day jobs are stressful outside of coronavirus, and this has just added a new element to that. So why don't you just join me from your homes right now with your families. Either listen along to the prayer that I'm about to say, or maybe just take a moment to say your own prayers as a family as well, as we just begin to lift up those people across our nation that really are carrying us right now. So God, we just thank you so much for every carer, for every frontline worker, for every nurse, for every doctor, for every social care worker, for every worker helping people that are in need, whether they experience homelessness, poverty, domestic abuse. We pray for all of those workers right now, for the time and for the energy that they are giving up, for the sacrifice that they give for the rest of this nation. And God, we just pray, as Emma said there, God, we pray for strength. We pray for strength over their minds during this season, God, that you would just protect them, protect their thinking, protect anxiety and depression from breaking in during this time, God. We just pray that you bring peace over them and peace over their families too, God, that may be fearing and anxious about the work that they go out to do. God, we pray that you would just hold them and keep them steadfast in your love during this time. God, we pray for anyone who is tuned in right now listening to this, that they would just experience that love and that peace right now in the place that they're in the home environment they experience. God, we just pray for that peace now that far surpasses all understanding, God, that it would just begin to wash over this nation, wash over these people. And God, we just pray blessing over all of those frontline workers, God, that you would just pour your abundant blessing over them during this time, that they would feel held, they would feel within community, they would feel strengthened, not only by you, but those that draw near around them as well, God. We lift them all up to you today, and we thank you that you have foresight over everything, that you continually see us, hear us, listen to us, that you intercede on our behalf, God, with those groans when we don't have the words to provide and we feel overwhelmed. God, you know, you understand, you are there, you are close. In your mighty name, Jesus, this morning, we just pray that, God. Amen. Amen. Hope that blessed you this morning, just to maybe shift a bit of perspective into what is happening in our world, and for you to feel like you're part of praying, you're part of a movement, you're part of something that God is doing this morning. So we're now going to move on to the next part of our service. How do we live big in lockdown? How do we continue to hold the message of Jesus during this time? And we're going to hand over to our senior pastor, Simon Jarvis, for an encouraging message for all of you today. Thank you, Simon.
Hello, One Church. Simon Jarvis here. From my home to your home, from my church to your church, I'm here to encourage you to live big in lockdown. I want to encourage you with this thought that we can have an indefatigable spirit. Indefatigable? Have you heard of that word before? I certainly had never heard of that word before until I read an article from a journalist that was relating to a tennis match back in 2010. And the tennis match was held at Wimbledon, and we watch Wimbledon religiously every year. Ever since my dad, who was a big tennis fan, encouraged us to do so, we've always got Wimbledon on in the background. But this description, indefatigable, was given particular to one match. It was a match between two players, John Inzer from America and Nicolas Mahut from France. And the reason why it was given is because it was the longest match ever recorded then, and still today, the longest match ever in the world. The game was spread over 3 days and it lasted an incredible 11 hours and 5 minutes. They broke 10 records in the game, including the longest match, the longest set, the most aces, and ironically, the loser, Mahut, scored more points, 502, than the eventual winner, Inzer, who scored 478. The journalist described the game described the players as indefatigable. And I had to look at the dictionary. What does indefatigable mean? And it means a person persisting tirelessly. I found that inspiring. I want to be a person who's indefatigable, a person persisting tirelessly. In Ephesians chapter 6, verse 10, it says this: "Finally, be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power. Put on the full armour of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against rulers, against authorities, and against powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Therefore, put on the full armour of God, so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground, and after you've done everything, to stand." The Bible tells us that when we're facing a battle, when we're facing a struggle, when we're facing adversity, that we need to stand. And when we've done everything, to stand. Sometimes you think, I can't even fight. Well, stand. Just stand your ground. Don't give any ground. Don't give any quarter. Stand. It takes an indefatigable spirit to take your stand, to face adversity and to stand your ground. Sometimes there's no fight left in us. Well, stand your ground. Don't give any ground at all. In 2 Samuel 23, we hear an account about a man called Shammah. And it says that the Philistines banded together where there was a field full of lentils. And though all the people ran away from him, his army ran away, Shammah stood in that field of lentils, and it says this: Shammah took his stand in the middle of the field, he defended it and struck the Philistines down, and the Lord brought about a great victory. Oh, come on, Shammah. It's just a field of lentils. It's not that important. We can go to Morrison's and buy some more. No, says Shammah, I have a conviction that I am meant to stand. Sometimes it comes to a point of principle where, despite popular opinion or even common sense, you have to take a stand and you have to hold your ground. For us as Christians, this is our ultimate test of faith. We have always declared that we don't live by our feelings, but we live by faith. And the world is literally watching us right now. The world is turning to prayer like never before, turning to faith like never before. And it's certainly something I've never seen in my lifetime. It's time for us to stand strong. Do you know what? I'm not giving ground to fear and worry and doubt. Sure, they're real things, but they don't need to be the boss of my life. And I'm not giving ground to bad news, issues beyond my control, weariness or depression. I am making my stand. I am indefatigable.
Amazing. Thank you, Simon. Gosh, what an encouraging message for us to carry this week. We're going to take a stand. And I just encourage you as you go through this week, if you start to feel those moments that Simon just referenced there at the end, when you start to feel like perhaps anxiety is taking over, or maybe even just fatigue is taking over, why don't you be reminded of that message? You can always come back to this page and just even listen to it again and have Pastor Simon in your home again, sort of encouraging you and challenging you on the stand that we can take with the hope that we have, with the peace that we have in Jesus this morning. That was great. In a moment, we're going to hear from Andy Watch, who has got the next message in our home series for us today. But before we do, we're actually going to take an opportunity just to worship together, which will be really encouraging. So just start to prepare yourself for that in your home today. We are going to watch a video that you may have seen already. You may have even shared it already. But it is a video that's been shared around quite a lot over the last week. And it is a cut together of a bunch of churches all across the UK singing the song The Blessing by Carrie and Cody Carnes. It's a really amazing song, really powerful song, and just great lyrics, particularly in this season. In this time, they wrote this song before all of this happened, before coronavirus came in, and I just think the words are such a powerful declaration to start singing over our families and over our homes and over ourselves. So we really encourage you to just join us as a family, or if you're an individual by yourself, then just start to worship in your home, just start to invite God and his presence in today. If you're new to us and you're not quite sure what worship is or how to join in, then I encourage you, maybe just sit and listen and let these words kind of just wash over you, soak in the message of this song, and just let it encourage you. Excuse me, just give a moment for to invite God into your space this morning. So there's a couple of things that we want you to do just whilst you listen to this song. One, just pray and start to sing this blessing over the church and over our community during this season. But also start to pray and sing this blessing over your home and over your street and over your neighbours next door, and those that are around you in sort of close proximity to you. Just start to do all of those things as we listen to this song. And finally, we're going to post a link in the comments, which is going to take you to a page where you can find out how you might want to give financially to support the church and help reach further blessing and community within Keynsham. All that you do, we heard previously about how you give help to the churches in Zimbabwe who are suffering really badly at the moment as a result of coronavirus, with just being able to get by. And so the way that you give actually is really, really powerful and really impacts lives and makes a difference. So we encourage you to do that as well. And of course, after we play this video as well, we are going to take communion. So just take a couple of minutes now before the video starts to go and grab a little bit of bread in your house, grab a bit of wine, and if your kids are joining in too, maybe grab a bit of juice for them as well. Get that ready, and after we come out of this video, we're going to take communion together, which will be great. So get yourselves ready to just have a little bit of worship, invite the Holy Spirit into your homes as we start to watch this video now.
Lord bless you and keep you. Make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. Lord turn his keep you peace. The Lord bless you and keep you,
make his face shine upon you,
and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you
and give you peace.
Manna rain down from heaven. This isn't second guessing. We know that we are protected. May the peace that surpasses all understanding be our message. Grace and favors in your nature, in your essence.
May his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family and your children and their children and their children. May his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family and your children and their children and their children. May his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family and your children and their children and their children. May his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family and your children and their children and their children. May his presence go before you and behind you and beside you, all around you and within you. He is with you, he is with you in the morning, in the evening, in your coming and your going, in your weeping and rejoicing. He is for you, he is for you, he is for you.
Amazing stuff. I had to compose myself at one point because otherwise I was going to come back on here a little bit emotional, but I just think that song is so powerful. I hope that really blessed you this morning and you were able to join in from your homes, whether that was just singing or just sitting and absorbing those words. May his favour be upon you this morning and his peace be over you. Such a great song, and thank you to those that put that together, the Blessing Video UK. Share that as well. You can do that this week if it really blessed you and you think it might bless others, then you could go ahead and share that through whatever social media platforms you might have or want to use. So we're going to now just take a moment to take communion together. If you're new to our service today and you're not quite sure what that is or what that looks like, then please don't worry about that. Just join in any way you can. Communion is essentially what we do together to remember what Jesus did for us. We believe that Jesus powerfully rescued us and set us free when he died on the cross for us and took all of our sin, all of our struggle, all of our pain. And I just want to read a couple of Bible verses, one before we do this and then the other just kind of as we do this together. So Isaiah 53 verse 5, this is, go away and read the whole chapter after this if you'd like to. This is one of my favourite verses about Jesus, about what he did for us. But Isaiah 53 verse 5 says this, but he was pierced for our transgressions, he was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was on him, and by his wounds we are healed. By his wounds this morning you are healed, and there is peace brought to you this morning because of what he did for you. Nothing that you needed to do today, there's nothing that you need to achieve or do to receive this, but it was something that he did for us, a sacrifice that he gave for us. So yeah, hopefully that blesses you. And then we're just going to take communion this morning. So like I said, all you need is some wine with you. This has magically appeared for me. Or juice, again, if you're getting your kids involved. And then also just some bread, some lovely bread here, so that we can take that together. But before we take communion, I'm just going to read this verse, which is in Matthew 26, verse 26 to 28. And it says this. While they were eating, Jesus took bread, and when he had given thanks, he broke it and said to the disciples, "Take it and eat it, this is my body." Then he took the cup, and when he had given thanks, he gave it to them and said, "Drink from it, all of you. This is my blood of the covenant, which was poured out for many for the forgiveness of sins." So what we're going to do this morning is we're first going to take the bread, and if you've got this ready in your home, we're just going to say a quick prayer over this, and then we're going to take it. So Jesus, we just thank you this morning for your body that was broken for us so that we could be healed, so that we could be saved, for the sacrifice that you gave for us this morning. Jesus, we want to thank you, and we take this moment to remember everything you did for us. We take the bread and give thanks to you today. And then secondly, we take the cup, and we're just going to pray over this. Jesus, thank you for your blood that was poured out for us. Again, for the sacrifice that you gave for us. We take this morning and remember your covenant that was poured out for the transgressions of sin, so that all of us could be made new again, so that all of us could have a relationship with you, where that veil was torn, where we could access you fully, freely. We could come before your throne confidently, not needing to have achieved anything or proved anything, but to be loved and accepted just as we have come to you, God. We thank you for your blood this morning, and so we take the cup. Amen. Amen. Okay, great. So we're now going to hand over to Andy Watch, who is going to share the next part in our home series. So if you have got Bibles with you, either just on app form, or if you have a real Bible, look, doubling up today with both. Get your Bibles ready so you can follow along any scripture that he shares, but also just grab a notepad again on your phone, or if you like to actually handwrite still, grab that so you can just take some notes and be encouraged and remember what Andy's sharing with us today. So over to you, Andy.
Morning church, my name's Andy and I have the privilege this morning of bringing you today's message, continuing on our theme of home. So of course home is very topical at the minute, what's going on in lockdown, what different people are doing. So perhaps, I don't know, you might be doing some cleaning, some tidying, putting the Christmas tree up is something that we did for some strange reason, or DIY, home improvements, maybe even some kind of restoration. One of the big news headlines from the other day was actually that there was a huge line of people outside B&Q, and that seemed to be so controversial. But for me, you know, the clue is in the name of the store, B&Q. What do people expect, really? But generally, you won't really find me doing any kind of DIY. It's not really my thing. To me, a monkey wrench just sounds like animal cruelty, really. However, desperate times causes for desperate measures, and so our home is undergoing restoration. Now, we haven't really got an old house, to be honest, and I might be exaggerating slightly what's going on here. Done a bit of cleaning and that kind of thing. But we decided we need to restore the Wall of Fame. Now, this just looks like a blank wall to most of you, but actually this wall is normally absolutely covered in photos of family and friends and lots of different memorable occasions, literally plastered in photos. And they're stuck up with blue tack, and they keep falling down, and actually now we've taken all the photos down, the whole wall just looks like a big state. So you can zoom in later if you like, but believe me, it's not a pretty picture. So we're doing our own restoration on the Wall of Fame. So park that idea for a minute, and we're going to look at the life of Joseph. You can find Joseph, really his story beginning in Genesis chapter 37. So if you've got a Bible, turn to Genesis chapter 37 now. We're going to read from verse 1.
Jacob lived in the land where his father had stayed, the land of Canaan. This is the account of Jacob's family line. Joseph, a young man of 17, was tending the flocks with his brothers, the sons of Bilhah and the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives, and he brought their father a bad report about them. Now Israel loved Joseph more than any of his other sons, because he had been born to him in his old age, and he made an ornate robe for him. When his brothers saw that their father loved him more than any of them, they hated him and could not speak a kind word to him. Joseph had a dream, and when he told it to his brothers, they hated him all the more. He said to them, "Listen to this dream I had. We were binding sheaves of grain out in the field when suddenly my sheaf rose and stood upright, while your sheaves gathered around mine and bowed down to it." His brothers said to him, "Do you intend to reign over us? Will you actually rule us?" And they hated him all the more because of his dream and what he had said.
So when we read that, we realise, wow, Joseph's house is in a bit of a state. Okay, we read in verse 2 that Joseph is bringing a bad report about his siblings. Okay, that kind of thing going on. If you've got children in the house at the minute, one sibling telling on the other sibling doesn't create the nicest of atmospheres, perhaps. In verse 4, we read of Joseph's dad loving him more than any of the others. That is not a great recipe for a happy household. We also read in verse 4 that his brothers hate him. A house filled with hate is not a great house, not a great feeling in that house. We also read, of course, of Joseph telling his family the dreams that he had, which obviously wind them up. It says that they hate him all the more. Then he has another similar dream and doesn't really learn the lesson from the fact that they now hate him all the more, and continues to tell of his dreams. So the whole communication breakdown there, I'm not saying the dreams were wrong, they were obviously of God, but the fact that and the way that he shared them didn't help. That home was in need of restoration. Bickering, communication breakdown, hate, jealousy. it's all going on there. This home needed restoration, but nobody admitted there was a problem. And so, point one, when we're talking about restoration, firstly,
Not very pretty, and as you can see, it's even got cracks in it.
admit there is a problem. There is a problem. I mean, it's already been mentioned to us in this series that it's often our homes which see the worst of us. You know, our guard is down. Part of us is that feeling safe in the relationships that are in the home, but equally it does mean that the relationships do sometimes need restoring. Our wall, the temptation with this wall really is to just whitewash it. You know, we've taken all the pictures down. I'm sure the paint will be thick enough, and we can just do a quick lick of paint over the top, as if it's you know, no problem at all. We need to actually admit, no, that there's more of a problem here. I'll show you some zoomed in pictures and you realise just how bad the wall is. So we need to admit there's a problem and more work needs to happen here. And that can be true in our own lives as well. Of course, you're never more challenged than when you're preparing a message on something. I was thinking about my own life, my own situation, and what relationships perhaps do I need to restore. And that caused me to kind of reach out and sort of try and make a connection with someone who I haven't really spoken to for quite a long time. Just things have kind of drifted apart, but I felt, you know, it's sort of upon me to try and restore that relationship. All I can do is my part. I'm not in control of their response or their reaction, but I can take control and can manage my own actions in the situation. I need to admit, yeah, that isn't the greatest situation and I might need to do something about it. So Joseph's brothers act on their broken relationship in a really bad way. They want to kill him, they end up sending him into slavery, and he ends up in the house of a guy called Potiphar. So we pick up the story here in Genesis chapter 39.
Now Joseph had been taken down to Egypt. Potiphar, an Egyptian, who was one of Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard, bought him from the Ishmaelites who had taken him there. The Lord was with Joseph so that he prospered, and he lived in the house of his Egyptian master. When his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord gave him success in everything he did, Joseph found favour in his eyes and became his attendant. Potiphar put him in charge of his household, and he entrusted to his care everything he owned. From the time he put him in charge of his household and of all that he owned, the Lord blessed the household of the Egyptian because of Joseph. The blessing of the Lord was on everything Potiphar had, both in the house and in the field. So Potiphar left everything he had in Joseph's care. With Joseph in charge, he did not concern himself with anything except the food he ate.
You see, we can't admit there's a problem, but then kind of believe that, well, nothing can be done about it, it's never going to change. But I believe in a God who is the God of the impossible, that says that we can land the impossible. Luke chapter 1 verse 37 says, nothing is impossible with God. And so point number 2, Believe that there is a solution. Now, Joseph's here in Potiphar's house, and clearly whatever's gone on, he's processed that, he's admitted there was a problem there, maybe admitted there's a bit of a problem perhaps with himself and God, who knows, but we pick up the story and all we know is at this point he's in a good place with God, so much so that the whole house of Potiphar is blessed because of Joseph. Joseph believed. Paul actually writes in 1 Corinthians that those in our household who don't yet know him can actually be sanctified, can be made holy because of our beliefs. And I'm not, playing down how hard it can be for someone who is living as a believer, as a Christian in their house when perhaps no one else in the house does believe like they do. But take courage. Believe in God and his word when he says, look, you being there can have a massive influence, just like it did with Joseph. He was the only one there, but the whole house of Potiphar was blessed because of Joseph. And as Paul said in Corinthians, your whole household can be sanctified, made holy because of your beliefs. So yes, there might be situations there that need restoring. But if you admit that there is a problem and believe in the God of the impossible, that something can be done about it, wow, you're 2/3 of the way there, I believe. See, that's easier practice than preach, so I appreciate that. But I also believe that God can give you the strength and the resilience for your restoration. We've got a kind of duty, I guess, to try and live and try and develop the homes that reflect the example that we see in the Bible. Let our homes become faith-filled. There is an opportunity to live in something new, not just now, but also after lockdown, that there can be a new atmosphere, a new vibe when we have restoration in our house. In some daft way, yeah, we've admitted there's a problem with our wall, but I do believe our wall can be restored, even with my lack of DIY ability. So what happens then in the life of Joseph? Well, Joseph goes through this whole journey from being wrongly accused and then he's forgotten about in jail to then rising up to a position of power within Pharaoh's empire. All the while, of course, his family thinking he's like dead and long gone. And if you know the story, there comes a day when actually he ends up face to face again with his family. But they don't know it's him. Does he let his natural earthly feelings rule, or does he seek restoration? And actually he wrestles with this, I believe, for several chapters. You can read it for yourself from Genesis 40 through to 45. And then we pick up the story in Genesis chapter 45.
Then Joseph could no longer control himself before all his attendants, and he cried out, "Have everyone leave my presence." So there was no one with Joseph when he made himself known to his brothers. And he wept so loudly that the Egyptians heard him, and Pharaoh's household heard about it. Joseph said to his brothers, "I am Joseph. Is my father still living?" But his brothers were not able to answer him because they were terrified at his presence. Then Joseph said to his brothers, "Come close to me." When they had done so, he said, "I am your brother Joseph, the one you sold into Egypt. And now do not be distressed, and do not be angry with yourselves for selling me here, because it was to save lives that God sent me ahead of you." Then in verse 14 we read, "Then he threw his arms around his brother Benjamin and wept, and Benjamin embraced him, weeping. And he kissed all his brothers and wept over them. Afterwards, his brothers talked with him." And then finally in verse 24, I love it how he wants to continue the home of restoration. Then he sent his brothers away, and as they were leaving, he said to them, "Don't quarrel on the way."
You see, this is crucial. Yeah, we can admit there's a problem. We can believe there's a solution. But until we do the final step, commit to change, then probably nothing will ever change. You see, Joseph went for the big reveal. Okay, he finally got to a point where this needs to change. This atmosphere, maybe some of the bitterness that he was holding, this is all not good. We need to restore our family back to the way it was. We need to restore that relationship. Our home, our house, our family needs to be a home of restoration. And so there's the big reveal then, he suddenly reveals that it's him, and there's emotions and everything else going on. And it kind of reminds me of a program we used to watch, Extreme Makeover, American version. And actually their homes needed so much major restoration. Often they would just tear the whole thing down and rebuild it properly. And the family would be sent away to Disney World, and this massive team of builders and the community would come in and they'd rebuild this home properly with good foundations. And then after a week or so, they'd bring the family back, and they'd bring them back in this long limo with blacked out windows, and they'd pull up, and there'd be the Extreme Makeover bus would be parked in front of their brand new home, their restored home. And so they'd pull up, the crowds would be there like, ooh, cheering, and then they'd get out, but they still can't see the house because this whacking great big bus is parked in the way. And then the guy hosting the program would start to utter the kind of famous words, and the whole crowd would join in. "Move that bus, move that bus." And actually, quite sadly, we got quite into it as a family. Well, a certain person in our household did. And we'd be at home going, "Move that bus, move that bus." And then the us removed. And it was the big reveal. The home is restored. And again, you see the outpouring of emotion, just overwhelmed with how much they've experienced love, really. And that would just kind of cause so many tears, and really powerful. Of course, sometimes I'd even get a bit choked up. But nothing's going to be different unless there was a commitment to change. There's no point in having the program going like, wow, look at that home. We've got to admit, they're in a terrible state. No, I think I believe, you know, there's money, we can do something about that. Yeah, sure, we can believe in that. Unless there's a commitment to change it, a commitment from the production team, the builders, the hosts, that whole community, nothing's going to be restored. We have to obviously do the same in our own lives. Now, you're probably thinking of situations yourself as I'm saying this that need restoring. Great, you're the first step. You've admitted there's a situation that needs restoring. Do you believe God can be involved to help you restore that situation, to help restore your home? I do. Do you? And if you do, then like I say, you're 2/3 of the way there. Now make a commitment to change. And I'd encourage you, do you know what? Make it today. Because if you think, do you know what, maybe I'll think about that tomorrow, it'll disappear a little bit. And your drive and that desire, maybe that prompting of the Holy Spirit to do something about it will just dwindle a little bit. Make that commitment to change today. Maybe you have to write something down. Maybe you have to make a phone call. Make the commitment to change, to see your home restored. Final thought is, and you're not going to get any prizes for spotting this, the greatest restoration that needs to happen is our relationship with God. You know, this is something that I did as a 14-year-old. I was made aware of the fact that I'd messed up, I'd done life my own way, and I had to admit I had sin, I had wrong stuff in my life. Did I believe that Jesus was who he said he was? Yeah, I did. I believe that he died on that cross for the forgiveness of my sins. But I had to make that commitment to change. And you know what, the first time I got to A and B, I just didn't, felt like I couldn't see it through, didn't make the commitment to change. And I didn't change. But thankfully about 4 months later, I found myself in a similar situation in a church again. And I recognised, no, I've still got that problem. I still believe Jesus can do something about it. But this time, April the 2nd, 1989, I know, I made that commitment to change. Does it mean everything's perfect? Of course not. But my relationship with God is restored to how it should be. He sees me through what Jesus did. Wow, that is fantastic. And I just encourage all of you, if you don't know God, if you're listening to this today and thinking like, oh, I'm not sure about this, please consider taking this ABC step. You know, this is what we've looked at with communion today, is recognising that I'm not worthy. I need a saviour. I believe, Jesus, you died for me, and I want to commit my life to you. So, let me just pray for you as I finish. Father God, I thank you for each person listening today. I thank you for the privilege of your word. I thank you that we know that you are good for your word. And so, God, I just pray you'll help us, give us the strength to admit that we have a problem, whether that's in our relationship with you or whether that's in our relationships in our house, relationships maybe further afield. Help us to recognise that we need to restore things to how you want them to be. God, help us to believe in you. You are the ultimate. You are reliable. You are a rock. And God, help us to put our trust in you. And finally, God, give us the strength to really commit to see change. Commit to see restoration. In your name I ask it. Amen.
Great message. Thank you, Andy. I hope that encouraged you this morning and maybe even challenged you slightly. A few highlights from me. I mean, one has got to be Extreme Makeover Home Edition. I am with you, Andy. I'm guessing maybe Mel Watch was the avid watcher in the household. Move that bus. What a great show, very emotional. But yeah, really great message and really challenging, and just the idea of restoration in our homes, but also restoration with Jesus. And I just want to encourage you from two aspects, much like Andy just said, you know, if you I think as Christians we all find ourselves on this journey with Jesus, right? None of us are perfect, and there can be times where we feel like we're more distant, and maybe lockdown for you, you're carrying a weight of guilt where you feel like now more than ever you should have more time than you've ever had, and so you should be connecting with Jesus more than you ever had, but actually it's the opposite for you. And just be encouraged that Jesus is always there waiting on the other side for you. There's no like we took communion, the sacrifice that he gave us doesn't waver whether we have more time, less time, whether we're close or further from him. He's already there to draw close to us. And just like Andy said, you know, if you are new this morning or you've not encountered the love of Jesus before, and maybe you've always felt like it was too far past you, that you already were too far gone for that, or it's great for other people but maybe not for me, I just want to encourage you again this morning that in terms of how you become a Christian or how you start that walk with Jesus is so simple and so easy. It's just by sitting down and having a conversation with him, sitting down and opening your heart to him, to listen to him, to get connected to who he is. Nobody is beyond his love. Romans talks about that, right? You know, that there is nothing that can separate us from the love of God, nothing too high, too deep, nothing in this world that can separate us from his love, and that is true for every single one of you this morning. Keep sending in your prayer reports and any praise reports you have as well. You know, if you had forgotten to post any prayer requests during the service because you were so caught up with all the great content we gave you, why don't you just go ahead and post some of your prayer requests now in the comment chat. It's not too late for that. It's never too late for prayer. We are still here to do that with you after the service and throughout the week. We'll see those prayer requests. Myself and the rest of the team will be praying for you from where we are. So please go ahead and comment those now, or again go to our One Church Facebook page, One Church Keynsham on Facebook, and send us a private message. You are not alone in this. You are not by yourselves. Even if you're living on your own at the moment, maybe that's your prayer request, that you feel isolated, that you feel lonely. We are here to pray that God comes and finds you where you are, that he comes and connects with you, and that you experience his love, his comfort and his peace right where you are in your home. That's how the church started, right? It started in Acts, in homes, not in buildings. And so the church is where we are, and we still want to pray with you, and we still want to be with you today. So you can also sign up, before we close, just a few extra things. You can sign up for our New People's Breakfast if you have been new on this service today and you want to find out a bit more about what we do. We normally, when we would be outside of lockdown, do a new person's breakfast. It's a completely free breakfast for everybody that's new to the church to just come along and meet a few of us in the team, sit down, have breakfast together and just chat and get to know each other. And we still want to run that whenever we are able to actually practically run that. And so you can sign up for that. There's going to be a link in the comments for you to do so. You can also join an online grow group. Again, there's going to be a link in the comments for you to do that. We're doing those over Zoom in the week. So again, if you're on your own or you're feeling a bit isolated, you can connect in with community there. And finally, just hang around in the comments now. Continue to have a chat with each other. We're going to leave it up for you to connect. We hope you've really enjoyed being with us this morning, and we hope this service has blessed you. Send in love and peace to all of you that have joined us today, and to all your friends and family as well. It's been lovely to have you, and join us again next Sunday at 10:30 on the One Church Keynsham page for our live service. Blessings to you all. Thanks for joining us. Take care.